Hey everyone, Chris Goglin here with episode 21 of my Star Wars CCG GEMP game review series. We are going to start it off tonight with a great game between two outstanding players. We've got Arebelspy playing Agents of the Black Sun and Tom playing Old Allies. Two of the very top decks in terms of popularity and just decks people feel are kind of, some of the strongest on both sides of the fence right now. So seeing two great players showcase both of these decks seemed like too good of an opportunity to pass up when I got this game link. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into this one. Maybe we'll do some housekeeping OCS stuff in between games or whatnot, depending how long this game runs. But so Joe, Rebelspy, that's Joe. He's playing Agents of the Black Sun. He starts Wipe, the new Shadows of the Empire, which we'll pause real sec. We'll take a quick look at some of these new Set 9 cards. Not all of Set 9 has been coded into GEMP yet. Like 75% of the cards are added. There's a few of the more complicated ones that they're still working out some of the kinks on. But Shadows of the Empire was one of the first ones that they got done, and it's completely changed the GEMP meta. If Agents of Black Sun on table, deploy on table. Once per game, you can use a force. Once per turn. Excuse me, I feel like I was going to sneeze for a second. Once per turn, use a force, download a Coruscant site. Not even a battleground site, you can get any site. So you can get the 2-0 for extra force activation. You'll definitely see him get the Princess Palace there, which will then pull the other related sites, so that'll get a couple battlegrounds going. Once per turn, if Emperor on Coruscant, may draw a top card of Force Pile. And then if you occupy 3 battlegrounds when you do that, your opponent also loses a force. That's once per turn. That's not just once per your turn. So you can do it on both players' turns. And that will trigger off this other effect here, wipe them out, all of them, which basically says once during each of opponent's turns, if you occupy a battleground site, you can activate a force. So this will guarantee that you've got a card in your force pile during your opponent's turn, assuming you occupy a battleground site, which is kind of the whole point of the deck, right? So you'll do that, you'll activate a force, and then you'll use this to draw that card and make your opponent lose a force. And you'll kind of do pings on both sides of the fence, or on both opposite turns there. So then we roll over to Old Allies, the big light side deck that got a huge boost in Set 9, mainly revolving around this particular card, a Brave Resistance. If your Episode 7 location on table, deploy on table. Force generation is +1 at Jakku battlegrounds you occupy. So great way for Old Allies to get a little extra activation. During your deploy phase, place a resistance character from hand on top of used pile to upload a resistance character. So this lets you swap around your resistance characters. It also pretty much guarantees that in a deck like Old Allies, you're always going to have Rey or Poe pretty much whenever you want them. Combo that up with, certain matchups like Imperial Entanglements or things like that, or Endor Operations, which want to go to space very quickly. You can start the other effect that lets you pull, instead of wackling, in this case you'd start Rebellions Are Built on Hope, which lets you pull Profundity into hand. Then you put any resistance character, which you could get with strike planning. You can take Leia into hand, send Leia used, and immediately get Poe, and basically go Poe Profundity. This would be for 2, and he would be for 4. That would cost you 6 to their system, and really contest them in space pretty heavy, pretty early. It certainly it's had an influence on the meta. I mean, Imperial Entanglements and things, it's got some tricks. It's got imp commands, it's got barriers. You can start Justice to work your way around it, to really limit them, that they're kind of spending their whole turn, and you get into that whole cat and mouse game. But just kind of the thought of that has, really made people rethink how they play certain decks. So these were some big additions to Set 9. We see one of the other Set 9 cards is here in Tom's hand. That's Rose Tico. Finn is about to be lost from same site. Place him in used pile instead. That text rarely comes into play, but it could. Most often it's used for 2 reasons. Rose is used for 2 reasons. During your control phase, if present at a battleground site and another resistance character on table, not even with her. Just if she's at a battleground site and there's another resistance person somewhere on the table, you retrieve a force. She's a Destiny 5. You play 3 to 5 copies of her, and then you keep cycling back Destiny 5 characters with a Brave Resistance into your use pile to take your lower Destiny people like Poe, Rey, Leia, Solo, Chewie, Lor Santika, some of the other guys to really just keep funneling all your guys out of your deck, and then you have a whole bunch of high Destiny roses floating around in your deck, drawing a bunch of 5s. So these are two very strong, very consistent decks in terms of what they can pull, what they can gain access to pretty early. So they're certainly viewed as being the decks at the top of the power curve. Strike planning still gets General Lando. Some people have switched off General Lando to different versions of Lando, Lando Scoundrel or something. And they're playing either 1 or 2 copies of Leia, or they're just sending the 1 copy of Leia used to get somebody. But still pulling General Lando is pretty solid play. Use that to make sure you get your Profundity going. I'm sorry, your Falcon going early because he deploys -2 aboard that. Darkside's going to pull a site. Oh, they got him in hand. That's terrible. So they had the Palace in hand. They have the Sewer in hand. They'll use the Palace's text. The Palace says, Blacks and Agents move 2 here for free, and once per turn you can download a Zizor's Palace. Never knew how to pronounce that. I always just call him the Prince because I don't know how to pronounce it. So it gets the Palace. The Palace gets you other sites, so you can get these 2 other sites. So it's unfortunate for Arebelspy here that he had both of them in hand. Usually you want to pull one and then kind of pull the other ones, although it does give him a quick start in his activation. And then he uses Shadows, which gets him any Coruscant location to get the 2-0. So bam, just like that. He pretty much probably has all his locations in play right now. He might have a bridge or something like that floating around, but I wouldn't think so. At this point, he's probably got all his locations out of his deck. Getting himself 14. His opponent's only giving him 2. So he gave himself 12 plus the 1 from Wipe, plus Emperor is going to come out. So he's pretty much given himself 14 force, which is a pretty good number. And I'd be surprised to see any other non-Coruscant locations in this deck. It's going to send Rose used with the Brave Resistance, get Lor Santika. What does Lor Santika do? If you just deployed BB-8 or Resistance Leader to same or related locations, draw a top card of reserve deck. So a number of guys, Poe, Leia, I feel like there's somebody else, maybe one of those admirals or something like that, who are Resistance Leaders or BB-8. You can draw a top card of reserve deck, so that'll get you a few extra cards in its related location, so even if you deploy them to the system, that'll help as well. I believe he also counts himself, so you can deploy him and draw a card. During your control phase, one of your other resistance characters present may make a regular move. So this also helps you shuffle people around to help out with battling and things like that. Being able to move someone like Rey or like Chewie to a related, to the adjacent site to then battle and shoot things certainly does come in handy. Use the objective, get a location, gets the 2-0. The 2-0 pulls Rey. He has Rey in hand. He may have a second Rey. Typically speaking, you pull Rey with the site, and then she just walks over and gets in with Lando. It's typically how most first turns usually go. But he's going to opt not to do any of that and just take off with just Lando kind of hanging out by himself and draw a few cards. So both players are starting off fairly loosely. You've got Lando, and Lando does draw by himself. The Prince draws by himself. But they're both just kind of hanging out. Now, we know Arebelspy has the bounty card, which fanfare lets you get an immediate effect. So you can pull the bounty, which would, prevent one character from battling. So even if you're just like, oh, plus he's, you need 6 ability or more to draw against him. And in this type of deck, there are no Jedi. There might be an EPP Rey, but probably not The best you're going to see would be Chewie or Ahsoka. Neither of them can draw alone, so if you can bounty one of them to keep them from battling that turn, it's a fairly safe. It seems like it's an open kind of play, but in this particular matchup, there isn't a whole lot of threat there. And the objective's pretty much going to stay flipped for a very long time. Now, Old Allies does do something. Opponent's objective targets Rey instead of Luke. So if Rey is out of sight, this will flip back. Let's just replace Luke with Rey. There's a number of things that Old Allies triggers that, and your Destiny for Bringing Before Me is suspended, Visage is suspended, so all the things that and here we have, alright, so Lando by himself just on the Falcon was a fairly bold move, and we may see that, Black Sun isn't known for its high Destiny cards. It usually has about 20 characters in it, and maybe that's what Tom was thinking here when he's just decided to just go it alone with Lando. He may be thinking about a counter beat where if he gets his opponent to commit, maybe Lando survives. I mean, this thing's not immune to anything because it's only immune while Rey or Han is piloting, neither of which are there. Maybe he's thinking he can just afford to sacrifice Lando in hopes that his opponent would draw less than 7. And then he's got Solo and Rey already, and he could just plop them both down and kind of overwhelm this thing. May have just been planning ahead, thinking, if his opponent didn't come down right away, he'd be okay, and he could back it up turn 2. And if his opponent did come down, then hopefully it would at least be under 7 that he would draw. No Force Lightning. We get a verify on the dark side. We'll save that surprise for you. Maybe we'll catch it on a later one. Now he's going to peek at some cards. So he peeks at the top 3 cards of his own reserve deck, likes what he sees, and decides to initiate battle. So this would not be good news for Tom here. Interesting. Well, I guess he just opted for the, it's not immune to any attrition, so let's just get rid of Lando now while we can. Light side will draw. It'll get reduced to 0, but at least they draw a card. They get to look at something, find out where something is. If he had drawn a character, he could have Jedi left it. So you draw there, even though Zuckuss reduced it to 0. You still want to make sure you go through the motions and draw the card, unless you absolutely know where something is and are tracking it. Yeah, you always want to draw that Destiny. Then he'll enforce Shadows, so he draws the last card in his force pile, and because he's got 3 battlegrounds there, and the Emperor's on Coruscant, he triggers, making him lose 1, top decks Finn. And the first thing he does is he activates 1 with Wipe, and then he pulls Force Lightning. Force Lightning wasn't there last time, so it must be there this time. He's going to send a guy used, and now he's got options for who he wants to grab out of here. He's got a bunch of roses. We can see 3 roses. There's a second Rey. He's already got a Rey. He's already got a Poe. There's a second Poe. So Chewie's in there. The only character he doesn't really have in hand, might be a good one to grab, would be Chewie. There's also a Destiny 1, which is always good to get those out of the deck too. He's going to take the second Rey though. I guess just in case, he'll get his sight out with the objective. So he's going to drop Solo. He's got a lot of force here. We could see him put like Leia as a passenger or something like that, possibly too. He drops Solo. He drops Rey. He gets a used pile search, and we see his options here. So again, a couple of good choices. He's already got the Leia. He just put Lor Santika back. You could take him back in a hand and then cycle him back next turn. You've got Protector. That's a Battle Destiny adder card. If Chewie and Leia are in battle together, add 2 Battle Destiny. Or if Leia's in a battle, you may lose Chewie from hand to satisfy all battle damage and attrition against you. If you had taken Chewie into hand, that certainly would have been a bit more appealing. Barrier is probably the safest bet for cards to take here. Rescue in the Clouds isn't bad either to help set up some, get a different card into hand, give you some options, or just hold on to it to cancel a close call. Not a lot of people are playing as close call as much because everyone's playing Rescue in the Clouds. So that card's kind of decreased in favor a little bit. Oh, he gets lucky and draws Chewie as the bottom card with Rey. He's going to drop the Profundity as well and really just try and overpower. So he's getting 2 Battle Destiny. He's got way more power. He's going to enforce a Shadows ping here. Top deck's a leadership. While he still has the 3rd battleground. And rather than risk drawing low again, he's going to go for the spin. He's going to spin a 6. He draws a 1. And that was, Rey adds 1 to the total. So that gives him 8. That'll clear both Forlom and Zuckuss. And his opponent draws back and draws a 5. So he could afford to lose Rey here if he was so inclined, knowing he's got a second one in hand. And he's got, a couple copies of Rose floating around in the deck, so he can try and get her back at a later time. And that's what he does. Smart play there. You have options. You have multiple copies of some of these characters, so losing them isn't, as important as it is they might be in other decks where you're only playing 1 copy. I feel like this is off-centered. So now we've got light side well in control of the Jakku system. That'll be pretty tough to deal with. Knowing again that, Poe or a second copy of Rey are easily accessible. We probably won't see much from dark side in a little while. Huh. I stand corrected. He's got no escape for Zuckuss and Mist Hunter to take it right back into hand. So that could easily come right back to Jakku. And it does. But it is going to get barriered. See if he's got a sense to cancel that, or he's just going to grab it. Nope, maybe he changed his mind, doesn't want to do the grab. Still going to deploy Zuckuss. Still going to get barriered. He's going to sense it. Oh, it's going to get controlled. And the control's going to get grabbed instead. Does he have a second sense? He's got a second sense. And we saw him draw 1 for Destiny earlier, so that means he's probably got at least 3. That's successful, so no barrier. It'll cost him 2 cards, though. Vigo Emperor plus the sense, so he loses 3 total. In order, well, technically 4 because he lost the second sense that got controlled. But so to keep Zuckuss in play, he's going to use. All right, so he there's one of these sites. I believe it's the new one. Once per game, if you occupy 3 battlegrounds, may retrieve a Black Sun agent into hand. So because he got his 3rd battleground back by putting Zuckuss down, he can retrieve into hand once per game and take Forlom back and re-put the same space fleet right back out there. So maybe losing Rey wasn't such a good idea. I guess, felt a little comfortable with the barrier there. But this may cost him the Profundity. Still down in power, though. Well, not for long. Oh, but we get Perimeter Scan, which will keep Fet from battling. This is the anti-maintenance character card. Target opponent's just deployed maintenance card. Target may not battle or allow opponent to download cards for remainder of turn. So it really hammers Boba Fett and Blizzard 4. Stops Blizzard 4 from also downloading to get the guy out of the reserve deck. Also helps out against things like Trample and get you defensive shields. Destiny 4s are both Destiny 5, like Hear Me Baby, but still a pretty useful card, especially with lower ability characters like Chewie, who don't want them to get trampled when they're trying to shoot walkers. So it's pretty helpful to help protect Chewie. So Boba's going to get barriered, or perimeter scanned, which is effectively a barrier. And that's going to stop him from being able to battle this turn. He's going to have to pay the maintenance. I'm sure he was planning on forfeiting Fett. Because Boba's maintenance cost is 2. So we're going to send Leia used, and we're going to see what options we've got here. He's got Rose, another Leia, and Lor Santika. So, but looking at the overall Destiny, this is a nice pile, nice run of 4s and 5s. Some 4s and 5s here as well. So you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards that are less than 3. So that's a pretty good chance that if you draw, multiple Battle Destiny, if he puts Rey down and he puts Poe down and gets 3 Battle Destiny in this fight here, that it's a pretty good chance he's going to get more than 10. Or at least more than 9. Rey would add 1 to the total, making it 10. Because Fett and 4-LOM only cover 9. We don't have any forfeit bonuses for bounty hunters like we do in Court. We're going to get a Tantive. We're going to get Poe. And you notice how he's deploying Rey last. That way he maximizes the number of cards that are in his used pile. So he has more options to choose from when deploying. There goes Rey when taken into hand from the used pile after deploying. So he gets quite a few options here. Since we know our opponent's playing sense, Control Tunnel Vision seems like a pretty good one to grab. Gold Leader and Gold 1 wouldn't be a bad choice either. If he wants to make sure he keeps everything, he could go for the Yoda Stew. At the beginning of the damage segment during a battle before any cards have been forfeited, you can cause all attrition for both sides to be reduced to 0. Looking at it right now, it's 23-7 in power. So even if he reduced the attrition to 0, so neither side had to lose anything, you're thinking, oh, my opponent's just going to get to keep his bounty hunters, and then he's going to get to draw multiple Destiny. He's still down by 16 power. He's going to have to forfeit those guys anyway. So taking a Yoda Stew combo here would certainly help protect to make sure he doesn't lose anything of his own. And you can see that after Destiny is drawn. Do the math. What are you looking at? What are you thinking about losing? If he draws high, if you think of the Tantive maybe being a throwaway here, if he draws high enough with 4 Destiny rather, because you've got Boba adding 2, Zuckuss adding 1, Fett adding, or 4-LOM adding 1. So if those 4 draws beat the 8 forfeit on the Tantive, he could just play Yoda Stew here to cancel the attrition, and then that would force Darkseid just have to lose the power difference. That's actually not a bad move there. He could also take a backup, take a second copy of Poe, and just assume that if he draws high, maybe I lose Poe in Profundity. Profundity covers 8 and Poe covers 6. That's 14. You might be pretty safe there. Like I said, Black Sun not known for drawing a lot of high Destiny cards. He does take the Yoda Stew combo, though, so he was thinking what I was thinking there. Rey's going to fish him out a card from the bottom. Not much there. But we know Lightside's going to draw high. He's going to do the Shadows ping. Probably just throw away that escape pod combo. Could top deck 1. He does top deck 1. Top decks a punch it. So that was a 4 that he just lost. There's a good one right off the bat with a 5. And again, he does have Solo's ability still too, so he could all wings a 6. See what this Destiny. There's another 5. So yeah, if he all wings a 6 here, that would give him 16 total. That would run him up to 39. But he draws a 4, which still is pretty good. He can save that Solo use for later. Certainly might come in handy at a better time. Ray adds 1 to the total, gets him to 38. So he's sitting in a pretty good spot right now. We're going to see light side, dark side run off 4 Destiny here, but again, Black Sun is not known for drawing clumps of high Destinies the way some of these light side decks are. He typically has a lot more characters in it. It needs to kind of overwhelm people with power and with tricks like hidden weapons and things, which are lower Destiny cards. And we see Arebelspy. I mean, he would be lucky to break 10 at this point. 3, 5, 7. So he gets 12. So he could just play the Yoda Stew combo. Make sure he doesn't lose anything from this impressive space fleet he's kind of got assembled here. And, you know, now it's just 19 battle damage. So he can start peeling cards, or he can start I mean, if he loses everything, he still has to lose either a Gick or 5 cards. Or he can peel 10 to keep Zuckuss. Yeah, I don't think you can afford to do that. So we look at, so he lost Forlom, he lost Fet, then he peeled 5. He went from used, Force Lightning, and hidden weapons, and then he went off the top, lost Banis, another copy of Zuckuss, Tarkin's Bounty, and then lost the Zuckuss last. Might have some other type of retrieval floating around in here, you never know. Maybe a way to get that card back that he wanted it on top. Now we'll land the Falcon, flips the objective back to the 0 side, and he'll convert that into vehicle mode. Just a bunch of characters sitting on top, including Dengar. Dengar would be the one we'd be interested in because he could take a shot and try and hit this vehicle. P-59 being the other. But he's going to opt to just get the 3rd battleground and just keep trying to do the ping damage. Just keep milling his opponent down. He's sitting at 27 right now, so I don't know how much pressure that's going to put on Tom here with the old allies, and then he's going to go ahead and pull weapons display. The weapons display won't trigger in this particular case because I believe it's this card with ability. If you control 2 battlegrounds, a site in the system, an opponent deployed a card with ability and did not initiate a battle, you can retrieve a force. So this card does not have any impact on droids. It really sucks when you're playing against like Invasion and they got battle droids and they're just deploying them everywhere, and then you know they don't battle, but you can't retrieve. So he's going to do that. He's going to get P-59 down. He's going to get his 3rd battleground back, and then he's just going to start drawing cards, reloading his hand. He's down to about 15 left down. Not a whole lot left to work with here, but you know he can keep doing these small pings, and they will just keep adding up a little bit. He's going to top deck 1. He top decks another copy of Rose. He'll get 2 drains in here, a 1 and 1. There goes Battle Order. First strike from hand. It's probably the card he usually starts as his 3rd effect over something special planned for them. You don't usually see the people start the grabber, but I guess in this instance, Spy thought that was best. His other sight is in there as well, so he'll get and grab that. Put that in between, keep P-59 away from the Falcon. He's going to use that and go look for a Hujix, which isn't there. He just verified his deck. He should have known the Hujix wasn't there. If he wanted to put it back, he could have just canceled all, prevented all damage, so he could have saved the force, unless he wanted to move cards. Now we get Leia out. That will flip the objective now. So now old allies starts getting to do some of its more very powerful flip side game text. So you've got once during control phase, if you control 2 Jakku battlegrounds and about to lose force, you can reduce that loss to 1. So that works for big drains. You can reduce it down to 1, or like big things like occupation damage or carbon freezing or something like that. You just say, oh, instead of taking 8 for carbon freezing, I'll just reduce that to 1. 3 or 4 TTO damage, I'll reduce that to 1. 4 occupation damage, you get the point. And then it's got these other bonuses here. Once per battle involving a resistance character, subtract 2 from a just drawn destiny. That could be a battle destiny or a weapon destiny, making the Falcon that much harder to shoot. And while with Han, your episode 7 characters and starships are defense value plus 2. Now this is a vehicle, so it just doesn't get any bonus from that, but it's maneuver 5 and you can still subtract 2, making it very difficult to shoot. You basically need a 7 to get it. And we're going to see Chewie come out. Chewie's going to go off script. That's a very bold move. So we see 2 bold moves. First we see Chewie going off script here. He draws into the Hujik, so he got lucky there. There was the possibility, of course, that force he spent putting out Chewie and whatnot could have had the Hujiks in it, in which case then he'd be in a world of hurt. Rescue in the clouds to try and find some cards. I'll grab the control tunnel vision. 2-1. Something special goes out of play to retrieve the ship. Okay, so we did have another way to retrieve Zuckuss, but that wouldn't have mattered if Zuckuss was on top in that instance. He'll fish out another copy of Leia. We'll get the 1 ping from Shadows. Not going to battle this turn with those low destinies. And I'll throw Leia away. So it looks like he's just going to... Oh, we're going to try and back up here. What is Spy going to do? He still activates those 2. Still does the ping. Draws that card, which could have gotten him Zuckuss into hand. Although he did shuffle. So either got Zuckuss or hidden weapons. It was Zuckuss. Zuckuss goes to Coruscant, which doesn't do anything yet until he puts a Black Sun agent there. There's Darrow. Okay, so now we got a Black Sun agent. So that'll make Coruscant a battleground. While you occupy with a Black Sun agent or ISB agent, gains a light side and dark side icon. Now there was something with the bug on the forums where this wasn't quite working right. Now weapons display will kick in. He deployed a card with ability, did not battle, and he controls sight system. But Chewie lived. Interesting. He'll shuffle there. I guess he didn't have much else to work with to try and get rid of Chewie and clear him out of here, but now he's going to get some drains through. Whenever he's done, Rey draws a card. He grabs Jin. Doesn't really need Jin. So we get a drain of 1, a drain of 1, a drain of 2. He gets pinged with Shadows and he throws the Hujiks away. Solo can play it from the lost pile. So as long as he remembers to at least save a force. In case he pulls the shield. A useless gesture. He should be fine there. Now that he's got a system and he can get around battle plan, he's just going to spread. He's just going to up the pressure. You know, you could have put Jin here to block one of these drains of 1. Instead, he's just going to go force the issue. And he's going to go get himself a drain of 2 over here. He gets lower Santika, who draws him a card. And now his opponent is going to Ellis P59 over to the sewer. Ellis is always a card that you'll see in these types of alien type decks because they need to win by power. They don't have the weapons that light side and dark side mains decks do. They don't draw a lot of the high destiny interrupts. There's just no synergy with those types of cards. He was inconsequential to peek the top card of his force pile. It was Rose. He gets options for where to put it. He can put it, and he puts it on the bottom of his reserve deck, so he knows who he would potentially draw 5 for Battle Destiny. Ooh. That's interesting. He initiates battle, and he's got to retrieve a force now, and he retrieves the Hujix. So he may not have that available should he need it. That could possibly open the door for Rebelspy to get back in the game here. He would need a big battle to do it. Misses with the Weapon Destiny, another poor character draw. There's the Sith Fury set on top of his lost pile. That would have been helpful to redraw it. He can subtract 3. He could subtract 2 from that. Doesn't really change the outcome. Chewie still has to die. I could have subtracted 2 from it and then done the Yoda stew trick from the lost pile with Solo had he wanted to, but you don't want to leave Chewie there. Chewie's just a liability at this point. Rey gets out. Falcon flips back to a ship. Falcon takes off. And I wonder if we'll see the other ships move over. Nope, not this turn. He's going to pass this turn. He's just going to retrieve 1, put Wackling out of play. Again, you know, Tom's ahead. Tom doesn't need to force the issue right now. He's ahead 20 to 12. They both have about the same number of cards in hand. So he's up, well, he's up 9 cards total right now. He's got decent board position. You know, he's going to get pinged quite a bit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 from Shadows being 5. So we'll take 5 total damage this turn. But he's got plenty of damage on his own on the other side. So we'll see what tricks Arebelspy has up his sleeves for this last 1 to 2 turns of the game here. Oh, he does top deck the Hujix, putting it back in the lost pile. Gonna try and capture Rey. If he can capture Rey, or just get her off the table. There's the O switch off he played last turn to keep. Oh, all right. So the O switch off is what he played last turn to keep P59 from getting hit. Set himself up a nice good destiny to track around. Always important to know where your destiny cards are for key situations like this to help guarantee, you know, you hit what you're aiming at. But this little card here, I can take care of myself. That was top decked earlier. Used interrupt pretty good in these types of decks because you've got Rey and Leia and sometimes even Padme who can benefit from it. Has multiple of functions. The one being used here is this one. Cancel a weapon destiny targeting your female character. You can also add 1 to a force drain, or if they're defending a battle alone, add a destiny to total power. And if it's Rey, she's completely immune to attrition. So in this case, could add destiny to power and try and outpower him, but we need to make sure that she doesn't get hit and captured here. It wouldn't be hit, it's just captured with that 6. So we're going to cancel that weapon destiny draw. And we'll see if there's one more sense left. He has the control for it, though. So that goes out of play. That was his solo. Fishes out a card. Plays Hear Me Baby. To play a shield, gets aim high. Just cuz. I think he's just trying to set up some destinies together right now. Or at least put a card back where he can track it. Doesn't subtract from the Ellis. I am not sure why. It's once per battle. So it's not even like it's once per turn where you have to be picky about it. It's once per battle. So I don't know what Tom... I'm assuming Tom was thinking it wasn't going to matter because it didn't crack her immunity. But by not subtracting 2, now he actually loses the battle. He draws a 2. Ray adds 1 to the total to make it a 3. So he loses the battle, has to lose a card now. He could have just used his objective and subtracted 2, and then he doesn't have to lose anything. I'll probably top deck that gold leader, though. Get that out of the deck. There you go. I mean, Ray's immune to less than 6 while she's on Jakku, but I'm sure he was thinking it just didn't matter much, wasn't going to change much. I guess maybe he was figuring he was going to draw better than a 2. He's going to have to peel another card. So this is where the pings start to add up, because when they start doing it on your turn and their turn, it does start to add up a little bit. So we got to drain a 2 here now because the Falcon's at Jakku. So we're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over here. Maybe this is a +1 or something. This is a +1, so that would be a 9. Oh, that sense was still floating around in there, so that third sense is still live. So we'll probably see Tom hang on to that control for a little while longer, but you know, Arebelspy is not going to have much left to work with after he peels a bunch of cards here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he's going to get 2 more, well, 3 over here, but it's going to get capped at 2 because of resistance. That's going to run him down really low. Doesn't look like there's going to be much left that he can do here. He's got 2 cards in hand, and he's got 6 force left down to work with. That's the 8 he's going to get drained for next turn. And in terms of what he can do in terms of moving and blocking, he can't move Zuckuss to block this because he's going to get run over. Oh, he grabs Chewie. And none of these guys can make it over here to block Jins unless he's got another Ellis. He can't get over here in front of these guys. He's going to send Chewie in front of the Emperor. Maybe in these cards that just got top decked, you might have seen the Force Lightning go lost or whatnot. Battles, Leia lets him retrieve a card for initiating battle with a resistance character. You get 2 if it's against a First Order guy. Chewie's going to take a shot because he just checked his deck and it was 5-4. It was 5-4 Chewie, so he knows he's going to hit the Emperor, and once he hits the Emperor, this Shadows ping is going to get turned off. That'll pretty much lock the game up. Tom was already ahead in terms of total damage output anyway, and ahead in life force. So it wasn't like he was going to lose the drain race if he didn't do this move, but this just widens the margin of victory a little bit, kind of speeds the game along a turn or so. Probably see Arebelspy scoop it after this battle. Subtract 2. Chewie dies. But Chewie shot the Emperor, and sometimes that's really all that matters. Emperor dies. That's 1 less getting force drained, and that's 1 less ping on each turn, each set of turns there. So that should pretty much do it. So we kind of showcased in this game the strengths, some you know less subpar, less than optimal Destiny draws. Yeah, there's the concession by Arebelspy. So yeah, so we saw some less than optimal Destiny draws. We didn't see like some of the bounty hunters and the hidden weapons package. Um, once Zuckuss kind of got blown out in space here uh, on that second go round, peeled quite a few cards to that, and really started to limit what Darkseid was going to have available to work with. So, and then losing a couple of cards for the Sense as well. Also, kind of put a damper on Arebelspy's plans. But congratulations to Tom for a very well played, very strategic game there. Certainly, played a little cat and mouse, leaving himself open in case Zuckuss came back, and Zuckuss did come back, but he was able to prevent that big battle that turn, and then lay a counter beat of his own. Not typically how Old Allies wins. Usually it's a dink and dunk kind of thing, but sometimes you catch those moments where you can put the get the big swings in, and Tom did that here. So thanks to him for sharing this game link. Let's hold that thought 1 second. Whoops. You can look at me. You just can't look at my screen because I got to log into GEMP real quick, and I don't want you guys knowing my password. All right. So there we go. So we'll just take a quick look at the OCS board right now. So Tom, sitting at the top of the board, still has 1 game left to play. I believe this was an OCS game between him and Arebelspy from earlier this month. Arebelspy finished his games 8-4, it looks like, which I think he said was his worst finish thus far. Hasn't played in all the months, but most of them. So we should all be so lucky to go 8-4 and have that be our worst performance. A couple guys here with 11 games in. Mr. Shaw can get to 28. That's probably not going to do it for him this month, because we've got All-Star sitting here with 4 games left to play at 20 points. He's already qualified, though. These guys are both already qualified, so this is looking more and more likely that an at-large bid could be coming. We've got Spidey Guy right here with 5 games left to play. That's, 5-2? Yeah, 5-2. You've got Werfs at 5-1. These guys are already qualified as well, so if they continue to win as they have been, could certainly be some at-large bids. Not going to see some of these other guys here. Just don't have enough games left to be played to make a run at it. Profundity, that 4-2, still has a shot at it. Needs to pick up some wins. We've got 4-1 here from Wise, but he's already qualified, I believe, too. So, certainly no rush for him. So yeah, this month is really crazy. There's been a lot of big matchups, like those types of games you see at major events that are always on the featured match. There's been a lot of those games this month, and we've seen some of those links be shared on the PC forums, and it's certainly led to some really crazy scoring totals right now. I'm only about halfway through my games, but I'm 3-3 right now, so I'd really have to put together a pretty solid winning streak here to disrupt what's going on at the top. Could happen. Certainly could happen. You got Apollyon down here at 3-0. Some other guys at 2-1. 2-0. And then, you get into some of the 1-0s down here, still with a long way to go. So, it's only the 12th. Well, it's probably the 13th server time now. Looks like it just rolled over. So, that'll be that. I think we're going to stop here for tonight. I think we're just going to do 1 game review tonight. This was a pretty good matchup that we showcased between 2 of the top decks. I had another game that I was thinking about playing, but I think we're just going to save that one. Maybe I'll do a second video this week and just do that one later in the week. But thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and keep sending me links and competing in your OCS games, and looking forward to continuing to do more of these. So have a great night.